Welcome to Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan, the golf podcast that interviews the best and brightest minds in the golf industry. Now, here's your host, Bernard Sheridan.
Gianna, welcome to Breaking Par. Thanks for being with us today.
Bernard, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be on your show today. Thank you.
So, the first thing that we always like to ask our guests is, when is the very first time that you picked up a golf club?
It was probably about 10 years ago. My husband's quite an avid golfer, and I didn't want to be the golfer's widow sitting home or shopping. I'm not a very good shopper, so I started hanging around with him and went out to the driving range a few times, and I picked up a club. We couldn't really figure out how I was going to manage to learn to swing. He tried to show me his way and what he does. And because I have no fingers on my left hand, and this arm is shorter than the other arm, I was always off square. There was no way for me to get both my hands on the club. So we started just playing around with it, just swinging the club one-handed. And we did have our club pro attempt to try to teach me, but she kind of balked at it and said, you know what, I've never taught anybody with one hand, and I don't know how to teach the fundamentals any other way than for an able-bodied two-handed person. So basically, it was a lot of trial and error for the past 10 years. I'm going to say now it was more error than trial, but now we're doing well. We're doing well.
That's great. I mean, it's very inspiring. And so is this, and I don't want to call it a disability, because to you it probably is not a disability.
I have a better way of putting it. I don't say that it's disabled, because I am able. I'm just differently abled. And I use that term often because I'm trying to inspire people to realize that just because you don't do it the same way everybody else does, you are still able. You adapt and you find another way.
Yes, absolutely. So now was this issue with you just having one hand? Were you born this way, or was it something?
Yeah, it is a congenital. It was a very. I was in the March of Dimes as a little girl, and I had a lot of chromosomal and genetic testing. And they found nothing in any of my family history. The chromosomes, genetic testing all came out okay. During the late 50s and 60s, they were giving mothers thalidomide for morning sickness. And the thalidomide was found through a lot of research that the March of Dimes did. It was found that it was causing birth defects, so they advocated to the government to get thalidomide taken off the market. But at that point, I had already been born. It's for morning sickness, so it's during the first trimester when most of the limbs are being formed. So there was a very big spike in birth defects back in the late 50s and early 60s due to the drug, which is no longer on the market.
Now, was your mom on that drug?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it, after trial and error, ruling out all the other factors. Nothing in my genealogy tree or anything else. So yes, it was. There's no way to prove it, but it's after ruling everything else out, that's the only thing that was left.
It's highly likely that was the cause.
Yes, very highly likely.
Yeah. So of course, since you were born this way, this is something that this is the way you've always been. So it doesn't seem all that odd to you, I would think, because this is who you are.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like if you have blonde hair. I mean, and I have no hair. So I mean, I was born with no hair.
You probably started out with hair, though.
Yeah. I eventually got hair, and then I eventually lost it. But that's who I am, and it doesn't seem odd to me. I think I want to say, but because I had it and then lost it, it's a little bit different. But
well, see, that would be the same case for me. If you were to give me your left hand, You have lost yours. I have gained something. We would both have to figure out another way, because I've learned from the day I was born, so I just learned a different way. And that's why you can see people that have no arms, no legs, that were born that way, that function perfectly normal in the sense that they are able to do everything. They just do things differently. If you have something during your life, an injury or an illness, and you have an amputee situation, it's a readjustment, and it's already neurologically wired what you have when you come on this earth.
Yeah.
And by losing that, you can probably have heard some stories with military personnel coming back with amputees and still having pains in an arm or a leg that they no longer have, because of the neurological wiring that's done when you're born.
Yeah, or if it feels like to them like the hand is still there,
yes,
or
yes.
the leg is still there.
And that's why
they call it phantom.
Big challenge
Phantom. Do they call that phantom?
Yeah, they call it phantom pains.
Yes.
But that's why cognitively they have a hard time adjusting. And I would do the same if I were to get a hand. One of the mottos or the mantras of the March of Dimes when I was in the March of Dimes was, a child who needs a hand gets one when you give to the March of Dimes. And it just, now I'm glad I didn't do it. But we had the opportunity back then. It was quite an antiquated, like it was like a claw thing that would help me pick up, and the wiring would help me mold. And it was more aesthetically for other people, more so than functionality for myself.
Right, right. Now, I know that I have seen, because I had another gentleman on who actually was in a terrible golf accident. And you would never think that there'd be a big accident in golf, but he was driving a cart.
Rich O'Brien. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, that's my buddy. He's on my board.
He's a great guy. And he was a guest. Yes, he is. And so I know that also that I've seen on Facebook some golfers who had there was this one golfer actually who had a thing that he adapted. It was almost like a cone, mm-hmm. and the cone, and on the cone was like a thing that clipped onto the golf club and allowed him to actually hang on to the golf club. It was almost like taking the shaft and sliding it into a tube type of a thing. Right.
Yeah, I've seen those. I'm actually in line to be working with an organization called TRS Prosthetics, and they want to send out a prototype to me for me to try out. Again, in the situation where I'm already functioning fully as differently abled as I can, I feel that still, I mean, I've tried a bunch of different things, and they seem to be more of a hindrance for me.
Sure, because it's like you have to relearn all over again. You've spent a lot of time learning how to do it with just one hand.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, if you have to add that second arm in there, it's like relearning it all over again. It's like a right-handed player trying to learn how to play golf left-handed because maybe something happened to them, and now they want to change, and now they have to change it up. I can understand how that could be frustrating and difficult. So, do you find, because I'm a golf instructor, and do you find that because you're using one arm, that your body has to be very much involved in what you do?
Yes and no. I say that because I've gotten myself trained so that I know that my shoulder is under my chin when I get into my backswing, and then I come in. So I do use this to swing myself around to get the turn. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my body does come into play quite a bit.
Which it does for two-handed golfers too. As a matter of fact, we try to get all normal, and I don't want to say normal because that's not the right word to use here.
Right.
All players, all golfers, the more that they can get their core or their body or their what we call here at where I teach, we call it the workhorse,
Yeah.
and get that to deliver the club, then it's much easier to get the club to stay on plane, to deliver square, and to be able to strike the ball further too, because now you're using bigger core muscles to
Right.
strike the ball. So
Well, I do pretty well. I hit straight. If I line up straight right, I'm straight right. If I line up straight wrong, I'm straight wrong. I do drive the ball about 150 yards.
that's fantastic.
And it's usually straight. I always use the joke that I don't keep a handicap, I have one.
That's
But
cute.
yeah, but I do have to have one so that I can go out. So I mean, I'm about a 34, I think .6 was the last time I looked. So, but my thing is that I'm not worried about my card. I'm enjoying my day out there. I'm playing to the best of my potential. I know the rules and the etiquette of golf. It's no big deal if I'm having a hard hole not to slow the pace of play and respect the other players to just pick up. Because I don't worry about my card. I don't have to measure my card up against someone else. Golf is really the only thing that you play by yourself.
Yeah.
And I say that you can choose to play with other people, but it's completely up to you how you have your golf game. So, for instance, if I had a bad shot off the tee box, I'm not going to have a linebacker come dodging out of the woods and knock me down because I didn't take care of what I needed to take care of there. It's the only game that you play with yourself. You can go out, not have anybody else with you, and it's up to you on the way that you want to hold yourself. The guys get frustrated because, oh man, I could have done better than that. Well, you know what? It's up to you. Nobody else is telling you, hey, you could have done better than that. So golf is the only game you play with yourself.
No, that's true, and I believe that a lot of players, I have a lot of players who are, I don't want to say beginners, but intermediate players, and they have these high expectations that are way out of their reach at this time. So I think that that's a great lesson to convey to our listeners is that you need to stay you need to stay in your own ability level with your expectations and always trying to make that better. To reach for, like, I have some players who might hit let's say during a round they might, I'll say to them, how many shots do you hit that are exactly the way you wanted to hit them? And they're like, well, you know, they're more than a couple during a round. And I said, well, you know, that's really good because a tour pro might hit 3 that they hit exactly the way they intended.
When you break it down, it's a good miss.
Yeah. I said, so now when you look at that, their expectation is much higher than yours is.
Mm-hmm.
But you're trying to put your expectation to where theirs is. And I couldn't even do that, and I'm instructing you how to do this. I said, so there's things that I said you can't beat yourself up over things that are out of your reach or out of your control.
I think that's why so many people give up on golf, because they hold their expectations up to what everybody else is doing instead of just thinking about what their own potential is. Well, and that's why whenever I get out and start speaking, I do speak at golf expos. Probably will be speaking at the PGA show this year, to tell people that just play to the best of your potential. And yes, you want to get better. You don't want to just settle because, or you can. As we age, it doesn't have to just be a physical challenge. There's cognitive challenges, there's sensory challenges, there's health and age related, there's illness and injuries that happen. And if you're going to hold yourself to that high expectation that the pros are out there playing, and they give up, they get frustrated, they get quit, but there's no reason to get frustrated. You're only frustrating yourself.
Yeah.
The way that you talk to yourself. If you just say, okay, well, that wasn't good, let me try it again and move on, next hole is a whole new game instead of just quitting or throwing your clubs. And
it's true. It's just like life. I mean, every day is a new day, and if we just do the best that we can and not try to measure ourselves against everybody around us, then we're moving forward on our own journey. They have their journey that they have to go through.
Right.
We have ours, and as long as we do that, then we're serving ourselves the best, and it'll make us the happiest.
Well, I have a perfect example of that, and it does come with what my mission is really to help inspire people to understand that you play to the best of your potential. There's an organization that runs clinics down in Beaufort, South Carolina, named Adaptive Golf Association. And one of the gentlemen, he is a therapist at the hospital, and they treat a lot of children. They have a makeshift little hitting place where they can go on hospital grounds, and they will actually take some of these patients, children, in their hospital beds out. They will wheel the hospital bed out, get them outside. Getting out of bed and getting out of your head is my big mantra that I like to say. But they'll wheel them out in their bed and have them hitting golf balls from their bed, and the joy and the glee that brings to them. There's a gentleman that I also worked with, his severe MS. He's confined to a wheelchair, and the family, he's in his 50s, the family put him into a nursing home, and he doesn't have any rapport with the other generation that is in the nursing home. So one of the townspeople donated a motorized wheelchair for him so that he could get out and about. Well, he goes out down to the physical therapy place. They have some raised beds around the hospital, and he'll do some weeding and stuff. I was speaking at a golf expo in Saratoga Springs, New York, and this gentleman, I asked for this gentleman to come see me just to talk to him a little bit, give him something to do, get him out. And at the end of our conversation, mostly we talked about, my birth defect and my associations with the March of Dimes. And I asked him, I said, have you ever played golf before? And he looked at me, and he looks down, and he looks at him, he goes, I'm in a wheelchair. And I said, yeah, but have you ever played golf before? And he said, no. And I said, well, come here a minute. And I brought him over to a gentleman who makes all these, he's a club maker. He can make anything, no matter what position you need, he can make those clubs. Well, he has like the tee ball, and the golf ball sits on top of the tee, which brings the golf ball up to the height of the wheelchair. And instead of having a swing this way, he's swinging just his torso.
Sure.
Well, we had him hit a couple of balls. We actually had to stop him because once he hit the ball, he started to really crying.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
I started crying.
Sure.
The therapist started crying. Just the amount of joy, and he never thought that he could do that. And I would have never thought. When I was in the March of Dimes as a little girl, I was for the state of Florida. Arnold Palmer was one of the huge supporters of the March of Dimes until he passed. I actually had the opportunity on a national photo shoot. The national poster child came in, and I had the opportunity to meet him and sit on his lap and had some pictures taken. March of Dimes owns them, but I have the signatures and all the other pictures that my mom took. But here I am, this 8-year-old little girl sitting on Arnold Palmer's lap. I would have never in my life imagined that not only would I be playing golf, but now I have the opportunity to be able to bring people of all different abilities, either to the driving range just to get out to a clinic, or to get out out on the course. Would have been the furthest thing from my mind. I would have never thought about it.
Well, golf has really changed your life.
It has. Not only has it changed my life, it's really given me my, everybody's looking for that extra something. What am I here for?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it took me till I was in my mid 50s to find out this. This is a gift that I can give. But every time I see someone hit a golf ball like that man in the wheelchair, I get my gift back and I keep that. And that's something that I want to be able to share. I want to be able to help bring attention to the adaptive golf world. There's always been adaptive golfers out there. I think I saw some black and white video of back in the, Ben Hogan days of a gentleman with no arms. He would hold the golf club up here.
I saw that.
And he would go like this.
Yeah.
Now this has been going on for, years and years and years and years and years. And I am hopefully going to help be one of those people that can help bring it to light. We have a huge opportunity with the PGA show. We'll have an adaptive golf section where we'll be able to showcase all of these different resources so that people are aware of them. Nobody's talking about this until just recently. I get stared at. Back in the old days, the parents would tell you, no, don't stare. Don't ask questions. So I was left out. So this is an opportunity for me to feel like I'm more inclusive into what everybody else is doing. And again, I don't have to be good. I'll go out on the golf course and I know when to pick up. But I get the opportunity now to help bring all of these resources together into one collaborative voice so that now this can be spoken about, this can be heard. This is something that we have to do the grassroots part of it first, so it's kind of a daunting process. I'm working with a group, the United States Adaptive Golf Alliance, and we are a group of 19 of us right now, but it's a growing group. We're on a committee where we are hoping to be able to bring enough attention and enough momentum behind golf, adaptive golf, to have it accepted to be part of a sport and the Paralympics. There's a lot of competitive amputee golfers out there. There's all kinds of organizations. You mentioned Rich O'Brien with the PGA Hope. They are really focused and targeted in on the service personnel, but they allow anybody. But really the focus is on helping our patriots everywhere is what the hope is. I didn't fit into that category. I'm not a service personnel, although I'm guilty by association. Father, my daughter's a Marine, my brother's Navy, but there's also the One-Armed Golfers Association, the National One-Armed Golfers Association. I have an arm. I'm not an amputee. So I didn't pigeonhole fit into any of these categories. So what I have just actually developed starting to happen with my nonprofit is I'm helping to be a liaison between all of these resources because I don't have one initiative. I'm not selling a product. I'm not selling instruction. I'm not selling a membership. I'm coming from the golfer's perspective saying, what resources are out there? I need those resources. So that's where my thoughts for adaptive golfers started with. And it's just something that's kind of developing and evolving, and it's happening to me. And as it's happening to me, I'm able to be able to build relationships with all of these organizations. And now I'm the golfer's perspective, and I can help talk to the golfers and inspire them and hopefully get more out of bed and out of their head, and use golf as a cognitive and therapeutic way of improving the quality of your life.
It's really just an awesome story. I mean, and it must be extremely rewarding for you to get involved in helping others who have some type of issue with either a limb or they're one-handed or they're one-legged or whatever it may be. or some disability, or they're in a wheelchair, like you mentioned earlier.
Hmm. Or cognitive. There's cognitive challenges. I do some stuff with the Special Olympics, and it was quite an eye-opening experience for me. We had a golf clinic. I'm sorry, a golf outing. The patients had gone for a lot of these clinics, and now they put together an outing for them to get out on the golf course. And the things and the emotions that I witnessed over a 3-foot putt, they won the Masters. They cheered and they had their celebrations. The joy that came out of them, that just exhumed out of them. Same thing, you have a Blind Golfers Association.
Yeah.
There are sensory challenges where, they need assistance. They need somebody to tee up the ball and just give them tell me what direction. And then they play very well.
Yeah.
You have people who are aging and have a weaker grip or may have had a stroke. This is a perfect way for them to get out and get the heart rate up and get the walking going, and it's health benefits. You have someone who's in a wheelchair who now has muscle atrophy, most of the body, because they're not using their body, their upper body strength is maybe to get them in and out of their chair. But now there's resources to have them get into something like a paramobile, where it'll strap them in and stand them to a standing position. So now you've improved their circulation. You've got them using muscles that they normally wouldn't move. So they're building muscle. Not only that, they're also getting relief from that you have issues from being in a sitting position too long, where, you get chafing and ripped skin and things like that. So this is something that's a health benefit, even if you remove the golf from it. It's cognitively and physically a therapeutic way to just improve the quality of your life.
It's really pretty awesome. So, what is the name of the group that you're most associated with?
Well, my organization is called Adaptive Golfers, and I am very closely associated with the United States Adaptive Golf Alliance, with the PGA Hope, with the Eastern Amputee Association. I mean, I have a list of, can go on and on and on and on. And I help be an ambassador for adaptive golf in general, no matter what different ability it is.
Is there a way that adaptive golfers can get in touch with these organizations? What's the best way for them to do that? Or maybe to get in touch with you if they'd like to speak to you.
Certainly. I have my website is up. Like I said, I just started my nonprofit in December, was when I got the recognition, but I kind of started this whole train started rolling back in May of 2016. You can reach me at info@adaptivegolfers with an S.org. The USAGA is the United States Adaptive Golf Alliance, so it's usaga.org. If you Google One-Handed Lady Golfer, you'll see I come up on pretty much the first 5 pages of Google. And I'm always out as an ambassador for each of these organizations. When I go to clinics for the Eastern Amputee Association, I'm out there representing them and the topic of adaptive golf. Again, like I said, I don't have an initiative where I'm selling a product or a service or a membership.
Right.
I'm really
just help.
I'm just out there to be the ambassador for all of this, and for everyone who needs that extra, inspiration or motivation. There may be upcoming. We're going to be starting a children's adaptive golf clinic here in New Jersey and also in South Carolina. And it's our hopes to be able to bring more children, starting at the grassroots, to get them out and about Sometimes parents aren't even aware that a program like this may be available to them. They don't know what to do. We need to find activities to get them to still be kids,
Yeah.
to still get out and enjoy, be part of the group. I know what it's like. I grew up military brat, moved every 2 years. New kid is always tough. New kid that's different is even tougher.
Yeah.
And I've been bullied. I've been beat up. I got pushed in locker. I got locked in a locker for 3 hours
Yeah,
once.
especially in our age group, because
Yeah.
that happened a lot more in our generation than it does today. There's not as much tolerance for it today as there was back then.
I think one of the challenges back in our generation is because we were taught don't look.
Yeah.
So now we're being ignored. Don't stare. Don't ask questions. Our generation, we're embracing it. We're saying there are people that are different, and they're still can be your best friend. Doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, it's I know that feeling of being left out and not getting picked. And this is for a child, this is such a self-esteem and character building opportunity to get them, even if they are just coming to the driving range and they're hitting a ball from a hospital bed, the joy that they can feel and the confidence and the self-esteem that they get to build. But we're going to take that one step further. The programs that we're going to do, we're going to start focusing in on finding those children that are in a place where they would want to go to the PGA Golf League. Now, I've talked to the PGA of America as well and talked to their junior golf league
Sure.
people.
Sure.
And they think this is an awesome idea, not to create another adaptive junior golf league, but to have them included in the
Absolutely.
existing. Now, not only does that child, you got 4 kids on a team. It's a team sport. It's not an individual score. So, the team works together. And if you have a child who has a challenge on that team, not only does the child get the benefit of that, but those other 3 kids that are on that team are now going to look and appreciate people with differences
That's
the
right.
rest of their life in a different way.
That's right.
So that's why I'm so passionate about this new program that we're going to be starting. We're probably going to start in the fall. We'll start off with snag golf, so that they get the feel of swing and not worry. I mean, that's a weapon in your hand.
Sure.
So you get some 5-year-old, 6-year-old running around swinging a golf club and really
I
hurt
know.
somebody.
I taught
So,
many years of junior golf camps with my academy when I was in Pennsylvania.
yeah.
And I always had them hold the club by the head, never by the grip, unless they were up and it was their turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you have something in your hand
That's
like
a
that,
weapon.
you want to swing it. And you're not paying attention to what's around you when usually you're a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old. So that's very true, and it is a weapon. It can definitely cause some serious damage. There's no
Well, we
doubt
have a
about it.
program that we're going to be starting up here in New Jersey. We just had a couple meetings this past week, and I have another one actually this afternoon that has indoor racquetball courts and indoor basketball courts. So during the off season up here in New Jersey, we kind of have a short season. We're not like in South Carolina where you can pretty much play golf year round.
Yeah.
If you dress right.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring it indoors. We're going to use snag golf, and we're going to start at the grassroots with the younger children that have challenges and get them just swinging and hitting the tennis ball up against the target, and that's going to help kind of snowball into bringing them into the junior golf clinics. Once we can get them good enough where they can actually get out on the course, then we'll get them into the junior golf leagues. And then who knows, by the time the Paralympics have accepted us as adaptive golf as a sport, the next, I think, opportunity we're looking at is 2024. So if by then we can find those that are the cream of the crop, that are the competitive, then we're gonna have something to bring to the table there. So yeah, it's an incredible journey that I'm on. I'm very excited for the next phase of my life. And I know the last day that I take my last breath, that even if I was able to touch one or two, then it was definitely the reason why I was born this way and why I'm here.
It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Thanks for
Oh, you're
reaching
so
out.
welcome.
Because I know that you reached out to us, and I'm so really glad that you did, because this was a remarkable story, and it's some wonderful work that you're doing to help so many people enjoy this game, and also to better their lives, and to better those who are not adaptive, their lives also.
Just by being touched by
Just
getting exposed to this.
a
Yes.
better
Yes.
understanding.
Yes.
It's always, I've always said that communication is the key, and if we can communicate with each other and better understand each other, then it's going to bring us closer together as people, and it's going to make us be more, I guess, tolerant of different things in our lives, and it's a lot of people aren't, and it's just because they don't know, and
It's just they don't understand.
they don't
Yes.
understand. Yeah. So, but once you do understand, and the communication lines are open, and things like this are definitely going to open up those communication lines, which is great.
Yeah. Well, I am the ambassador for that and spokesperson for it. We've got some opportunities that are coming up, so keep watching. Again, it's info@adaptivegolfers.org, or you can Google one-handed lady golfer. And now I can call myself AKA Golfin' Granny.
Well, good for you. Congratulations.
Three grandchildren now, so the third one just came. So we have a new baby in the house. Yeah, and I'm on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter. Everything is One-Handed Lady Golfer. I've got YouTubes out there. So anybody who is wants more information or is curious or needs inspiration, certainly reach out to me, and we can certainly find whatever resources are needed, and hopefully we can help grow the game of golf to this whole nother demographic of people.
It's wonderful. Well, Gianna, thanks again, and until we meet again, do your best to keep it in the short grass, and thanks for being with us.
Keep it in the fairway, they say. Have
go.
a great day.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Breaking Par with your host, Bernard Sheridan. Follow us on Twitter @Breaking Par and on Facebook @Par Breakers Golf Academy. Until next week, try to keep it on the short grass.